Ladies and gentlemen, I've been waiting a very long time for this. Everybody is finally getting together to cancel one man that everybody in the NFL seems to dislike, Jon Gruden. So before I get to this content, I'm gonna need a lot of you guys to go ahead and like this video, because a decent amount of people that watch this are probably gonna get upset about what I'm about to say, and if that upsets you, well, I don't really care, I'm sorry. Of course, we're giving away a signed NFL jersey to a subscriber that has my notifications on, that also follows me on Twitter and Instagram. Just comment what jersey you want on my latest picture. A bunch of you guys have already done it, or you can just tweet me what signed jersey you want. I highly recommend Tom Brady because he's the priciest. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I am very sensitive when it comes to all things racial, and I'm gonna just start this video off by saying that. So I wasted $12 on the Wall Street Journal just so I could bring you guys this entire article, and so you guys wouldn't have to waste $12 as well. So Jon Gruden is currently in the midst of completely turning around the Las Vegas Raiders franchise. He's been doing this by nailing his draft picks like Garyon Connolly, Colton Miller, Cleveland Farrell, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Abram, trading Khalil Mack, drafting Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnett, and most recently drafting Alex Leatherwood. All jokes aside, he's had some hits and he had some misses. He drafted Hunter Renfrow in the 5th round in 2019. He drafted Bryan Edwards, which I'm still waiting to break out on my fantasy team, in the 3rd round in 2020. And of course, we can't forget my man going out and drafting Mad Max Crosby in the 4th round in 2019. Well, to be honest, this wasn't Jon Gruden per se, this was Mike Mayock. And while Jon Gruden is probably most notorious for finessing the Las Vegas Raiders into quite possibly the greatest contract I've ever seen for a head coach in NFL history, 10 years and $100 million, for the most part, you gotta give him props because the Las Vegas Raiders are on their way to at least looking like a very legitimate team this year. Major props to him also not giving up on the likes of Derek Carr, which I feel like any other head coach would have. I really like the fact that he kept him in. I always was a fan of Derek Carr and actually felt like he could get the job done, and I think he's probably one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the entire NFL. Now, with all of that being said, unfortunately, Jon Gruden is trending on all of social media for the wrong reasons. So, a little bit of context to this situation. Back in 2011, the NFL was at risk to not play any games at all. That's because there was potentially going to be a lockout during the 2011 NFL offseason. So the context of this situation is, imagine all the head coaches, all the general managers, and all of the owners getting together and trying to argue with the players in regards to things like revenue sharing, how much they should get paid, whether or not they're allowed to use marijuana, and stuff like that. Now, during this time, Jon Gruden, he wasn't really doing much. He did have his little appearances on Monday Night Football and on ESPN, and he was doing a remarkable job broadcasting. He was actually one of the more entertaining broadcasters during that time, and every once in a while he'll put out a little feeler in terms of teasing coming back to the NFL. But for the most part, he wasn't necessarily in the league, but he was 2 years out of the league as a head coach, so maybe he was envisioning coming back to the NFL as a coach at some point. I'm very unsure. Well, according to this Wall Street Journal article that is titled "Jon Gruden Used Racial Trope to Describe NFLPA Chief DeMaurice Smith in 2011 Email." Get a look at what it says underneath. The NFL has been examining more than 650,000 emails, including the one sent by the Las Vegas Raiders coach as part of a recent investigation. Jon Gruden would apologize for the comment, but of course he's going to apologize for the comment. And if you read this article, it goes into giving you the background that you would imagine. On July 21st, 2011, the National Football League and its players were working to resolve a lockout that threatened the upcoming season. That day, the league's owners voted to ratify a new collective bargaining agreement, but the players opted not to vote on it immediately, citing outstanding issues that the union was fighting to resolve. That same day, Jon Gruden, the current Las Vegas Raiders head coach, who has been one of the most prominent figures in the NFL over the past 2 decades, which, with all due respect, I think that's a bit of a stretch, sent an email about DeMaurice Smith, the executive director of the NFL Players Association, to a team executive. Gruden's email described Smith with a racist trope common in anti-black imagery. So this is where I guess the video gets a bit controversial, because I've never heard this trope before, but I guess you could say I'm a little ignorant, because the trope is DeMaurice Smith has lips the size of Michelin tires. And this email was apparently sent to Bruce Allen at the time. In an interview, Jon Gruden said he can't specifically recall writing the email, but apologized for using that language, saying, "I'm really sorry. I was upset. I used a horrible way of explaining it." Gruden said he had been angry at the time because of the lockout and didn't trust the direction the players, led by Smith, were going in the negotiations. He said he has in the past referred to people he believes to be lying as rubber lips and that he took it too far. He said, "I don't think he's dumb, I don't think he's a liar, and I don't have a racial bone in my body, and I've proven that for 58 years. Now, of course, Smith responded to this saying, "This is not the first racist comment that I've heard, and it probably will not be the last. This is a thick-skinned job for someone with dark skin, just like it always has been for many people who look like me and work in corporate America. You know, people are sometimes saying things behind your back that are racist, just like you see people talk and write about you using thinly coded and racist language. Racism like this comes from the fact that I'm at the same table as they are, and they don't think someone who looks like me belongs. I'm sorry my family has to see something like this, but I would rather they know, and I will not let it define me." So the NFL released a statement saying the email from Jon Gruden denigrating DeMaurice Smith is appalling, abhorrent, and wholly contrary to the NFL's values. We condemn the statement and regret any harm that its publication may inflict on Mr. Smith or anyone else. So here's the thing, with all due respect, like, I do sense a sort of antagonistic tone towards DeMaurice Smith. Maybe he's in a negotiation against him, but saying DeMaurice Smith is just complimenting on his intelligence, and then has lips the size of Michelin tires is just commenting on his physical appearance. So I don't really see anything that pertains to the color of DeMaurice Smith's skin, and I'd assume that if Jon Gruden was really upset at anyone he was negotiating against, he may have said the same thing. But hey, for all you know, there might be something in this analysis that I don't see, but I feel like there's something about this entire situation that just bugs me. I mean, you're going back literally 10 years ago into a time where players and coaches and owners are being very hostile towards one another, and you're digging up something. Yeah, granted, I guess you kind of provided some context to the situation. The one thing that bothers me is literally all we hear about this is these 9 words in an entire email, unless if this was the whole email. I really wish I could see the entire email, because I bet you if you read the entire email, you would be able to determine whether or not Jon Gruden was trying to be malicious in this instance. Of course, he apologized, and he hasn't really had a history of this. It'd be very interesting to see how his players are going to react to this entire situation. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'd like to have an open discussion about this. I know this is a little bit more controversial than my average video, so I would like to hear what you have to say. Hopefully we could be civil, and aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.